Testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a first sit down talk with me. This is kind of like a solo podcast style thing that I've kind of envisioned myself doing for a little while now. If you guys are familiar with like the whole like film photography YouTube world, Volandis kind of just started doing this somewhat recently, and it's somewhat inspired by that, but I don't know. Kind of having more like sit down, chill, talking topics has always been like a thing that's kind of like been in the back of my mind. But I know for a fact that these like long form content videos is not going to sustain my channel if it's going to be part of like the 2 weekly uploads, like my Tuesday film videos and my Friday digital ones. So these long form videos, they're going to be pretty irregular and going to be maybe on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Just imagine it kind of like a side dish that comes and goes as it will. But yeah, since this is going to be less edited and me just like talking about a certain topic, you could throw this video in the background of whatever you were doing, go do laundry, go eat, go cook, or do something else and like have me like run in the back of the tabs or whatever on your Google Chrome. But today, we're going to be talking about a small topic, not one that I'm like a professional on. I just want to preface that I'm not super experienced about this topic, but one that I think about, and that's about the artist and the ego. You've definitely seen it on the title already when you clicked. But before we start that, or to kind of like preface this idea of the artist and the ego, I want to talk about Joe Greer's book, New York City, I Love You. I'm no way like endorsed by this guy. I just admire his work. And also, like, if you're already misinterpreting my words, I'm not saying that Joe Greer is an egotistic artist at all. I love his body of work, from his street photography in New York City. If you guys don't know who he is, I kind of just gave a rough intro. He used to live in New York. He lives in Tennessee now, I think. And he's known for his street photography work. He's known for his portraiture for like Joji or Leon Bridges. He's a really talented artist. And also, if you're kind of familiar with the film photography world, he was on a video with Willem Verbeek when Willem Verbeek used to do like interview videos of like how this guy shoots, how this girl shoots. And I really admire Joe Greer's character along with his work. And in his feature with Willem, in his little vignette, no pun intended, Joe Greer was talking about like how he's known for a lot of things, but he doesn't want to be like put into a box of street photography only, or this gear that he uses, his Leica M6. He doesn't want to be known for like those like single lanes of thinking, I guess. He wants to be known for his creative eye, how he sees things, how he interprets things, and also like his own creative decisions and directions. And the line that he had that resonated with me like 100% is in that video. I might link it in like the corner so you can like follow along. But he said that he doesn't believe that photographers should stay in one lane, like just be a wedding photographer, or just be a product photographer, or a portrait or landscape photographer. He says that we should all, as artists, diversify in everything, try to learn from like all principles, even outside of our own craft. And like right from the jump, like when I started photography from 2010, like I am 100% for that. I'm just glad that people like Joe and people who are like better at words and vocalizing their thoughts, who are better at that than I am, I'm glad that they can kind of say the words that I'm thinking but just don't know how to say it. But I really like that. I really resonate with that. I feel like for myself, I don't ever want to just like stay in one lane of film photography or digital photography or wedding photography and all this other stuff, because I feel like, why niche down and put myself in a box when I can learn and try to get good at all of it. I'm not saying that I'm an expert at all of them or any of it. I'm good at some, really trash at others, really interested in others, but I can learn from so many things. Like, for example, if you, the watcher, you, the photographer watching right now, you can learn so much from fashion photography. For example, fashion photography, landscape, portraiture, and then apply all those principles that you learn into your wedding business. For example, if you only shoot wedding photos or portrait photos, like, I feel like you're cutting yourself off from a lot of benefits of exploring into other zones of like this craft. And I know that like a lot of professionals or enthusiasts or hobbyists would disagree with that. They would say that niching down is how you're going to be the most successful in your business. And I can definitely see like the value in niching down and only marketing yourself towards one thing. Like I only shoot weddings. I only shoot products. I only shoot corporate stuff, photo, video, whatever. I can definitely see that because people like to hire specialists, not jack of all trades. But currently, the way that my business is formatted in, I am finding success in my own way, in my own lane, I guess. And will I get better in my business if I niche down? I could see that happening, but like currently right now, I'm doing pretty good for myself. And I'm very happy with being able to jump around and like do other things, because for me, like it's just hard to, stay in one craft or one way of shooting photos for a super long time. For example, in New York City, I Love You. This is all about Joe's 3 to 5 years in New York. And it's all about like his walking around the streets, taking photos of like strangers and regular life around all these other things. And when I like opened up this book, I was humbled. And this is when I'm going to start talking about like the ego. This is when this is what I'm talking about, like this idea that artists sometimes think that they know everything, that after finding some success for a while, they think that like, oh, we've reached like a mountain high level of thinking, amount of knowledge that we're like, okay, well, like we've mastered it. But then you realize that when you come across somebody else's body of work, for example, me seeing this book, it's humbling to know that like I have so much more to learn. And yes, it's humbling to see that, but it's also exciting that there is more out there, because after doing this for so long, having this like childlike discovery of exploring another facet of the art doesn't come as often as it did, like obviously in my first 2 years or first year of doing this. And that goes for like anybody watching this as well. So this deflated this egotistical, like overconfident side of me. And I want to just say that everybody has an ego. I have an ego. I think that in most like contexts, in like common language, like from like A to B person, we think that like the connotation of ego is like you're an egotistic person, you're arrogant, you're self-centered, self-indulgent, and all this other stuff. But that's like one side of the spectrum of having an ego. I think like ego is just like you have a picture of yourself, you have an image of yourself, a snapshot of like what you're good at and what you're bad at. And on one side of the spectrum is like what most of us know, like the arrogant side. Like you think you know so much and you think that you're the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And then the other side of like thinking about yourself is like, wow, you think you're trash, you think you're not good at anything, you think you're worthless and all this stuff. And like both sides of these spectrums are very unhealthy. So kind of finding that like balance right in the middle is that pocket of being confident in how you're creating your own art, regardless of the medium, right? Like photo, video, music, and socializing or communication. Yeah, so I kind of want to dive deep into that. I'm like looking at my notes like as we're doing this. This is a very like raw thing, so stick with me here. But yeah, there's that side of me that happened before, like a couple of times where I feel like, okay, like I've understood photography, like I know how to shoot everything. I know how to shoot a lot of things. And then this book and these other talented people like just show that, bro, I don't know jack. And I mean that in a healthy way, right? Because I don't think there's like any use in artists thinking that they're just trash, in thinking that their work is useless and worthless, or that they don't believe in the way, they don't have confidence in the way of their creative direction and thinking, because maybe it isn't popular in their friend group, maybe it isn't like easily understood. And then I've seen it. I'm not saying that like all unconfident artists like do this, but I've seen unconfident like people just kind of like follow trends, and that they just like chase likes or like chase what's popular. Like maybe one day Orange and Teal is the mad fabulous thing, and then they go orange and teal, like, oh wait, never mind, like tomorrow's gonna be high contrast, and then they like move over there, like, oh wait, never mind, it's like desaturated moody look, and then they move over there, then it's film photography, oh, and then like they just like chase all these other things around. And I don't think that's like really good to just like follow trends like every single day and not really like make stuff that resonates with you in a very strong way. Making stuff that not making stuff that sings to your soul, sings to your being. Because if you're just going to be like swayed by trends every single day, then I feel like you're wasting your time, first of all, and wasting your talents that you actually have. Because if you're willing and have the heart to create something, there's already like something inside you that needs grooming, needs developing, and maybe like following trends and like imitating like artists that you look up to is a good start to that. But I think doing that too long won't build up your own voice and your own confidence, because the successful artists that like we know of, like for example Joe and whoever like you follow in like the music world or photo world, doesn't matter the medium, like they found their voice by just making stuff that is very solely them. Like they are pulling like their own personality, their own like mind, their own thinking, their own emotions, and putting it on a canvas or putting it into a beat or putting it into lyrics. And it takes a long time to sound like yourself, but having like no confidence in yourself at all does nobody good. It's more of a disservice. It's a disservice to you for sure, but it's also a disservice to like the world, because you have like a skill set in you that could make something that resonates and like influences other people in a positive way, not like social media influencing, but like inspiring other people. So that's like I feel like that's like the negative side of like one negative side of the spectrum of ego, and then the other side of the spectrum of ego is the one that that most people preach against, and that I really don't like, which is the type of artist that thinks that like they're the best, that they're the greatest of all time, that they've learned everything, that they figured everything out. And that type of ego like really holds you back from learning and like growing as a person, first of all, growing with your people, growing with your community, growing in the culture that you've learned from, that you've like sourced from, because all art is inspired. And I've like met a couple of people who felt like they had the right to judge the living hell out of other people because they felt like their art is not original, that other people's art was not original, when no art is original anymore. Everything is inspired. But I've met a couple like super, self-indulgent people who really think that they're all that. And they like tell people that they can't do a certain thing, that they can't create in a certain way because that's not how they personally did it. They look at their own path and like, this is the way, like this is the Bible, this is the gospel of how you're going to be a successful artist. And Dave Chappelle, the comedian, I'm really late on the Chappelle train, but if you don't know who Dave Chappelle is, he's a very famous comedian. Just like Google him and like there's going to be so many things. He accepted the Mark Twain prize of, he just accepted the Mark Twain prize for his art and comedy. And he said that if you try to narrow this craft down to one practice, you're wrong. You're like absolutely wrong. There's not one single way to go about doing this. And you have to allow people, I'm paraphrasing, you have to allow people to create what sings to them, what resonates with their soul. I'm definitely paraphrasing. You can look up the clip right now. There is no GOAT artist. There is no greatest of all time artist. There are many mega influential artists out there, but if you're still alive, which you definitely are because you're watching this video, obviously, you're still learning. There's no way that you have capped out in your learning and that you know everything. But we all have those moments, right? Where we have these like mountain high confidence of like our technical skills or our proficiency or in the way that we think. And once we like find a little bit of success, like it's really easy for our ego to like inflate like bigger than the world and think that our art is like the vehicle to progress the world, to progress other people in the right direction, and maybe so, but it is not the only way. It has definitely happened to me like a few times, and I've had to like tell myself every single day, like, yo, you got to keep your feet on the ground, you got to like keep your boots on the ground, and that I have so much to learn, and finding this balance of like being confident in like the way that you do it, and being open to criticism and all this other stuff. So that's the next thing that I want to talk about in this whole thing, is like listening to noise. There's always going to be like people who are going to throw comments at you and tell you like, hey, you should do it this way. You shouldn't do it that way. And it's up to you to mature enough in your own in your own self to know what is constructive criticism, what is destructive criticism, and also being okay with yourself to make mistakes, because you're not always going to decipher and discern like everything correctly 100% of the time. So for example, like I know a lot of people have told me that when I was starting out, that my high contrast filmic saturated look will not do it, that my compositions will not work out. My photography teacher in junior year of high school told me that my centered symmetrical compositions are really bad and I should stick to rule of thirds and all that stuff. But look who's, making a successful business off of my compositions and my color grading. So it's like, there's not one way to do it. And I'm not going to go on this video and go on the record and saying that the way that I edit and the way that I shoot is like the only way that's going to make you money or inspire people. Like that, absolutely not. Like absolutely not. But you have to like know when to allow people to speak it into your craft, speak into your life to teach you a thing or two, but also have the strength in yourself to say like, hey, like they can say whatever they want, they can have their own opinion, but I'm going to do it the way that I'm going to do it. So finding that like fine balance is so difficult, because you find success and then you're like, whoa, da, 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 da. And then like once you like find failures, you're like, oh, and then like it's just like this like little teetering seesaw like balance of this whole life that we live, right? It's gonna be like a lifelong journey of doing that. So there's that. Wow, I'm like looking at this right now. Yeah, it's like I feel like right now, like for me personally, with this whole topic and like my personal like walk on the whole idea of the ego and the artist, finding like a little bit of success on YouTube, as you guys are watching me right now. I don't even know if you guys are watching anymore, but once like my channel like blew up, I like made sure to really batten down the hatches. I think that's what it's called, or the phrase, but really like anchor myself like to the ground and say like, dude, it's just like something I do. It's not like who I am. Like I guess I like have the right to call myself a YouTuber, and guess like I've had like a little bit of success in like a couple viral videos that the algorithm has like blessed me with. But if I'm gonna be completely honest, like I'm still like regular old me, just a regular dude from the Bay Area who takes photos for fun and for a living and makes videos to try to teach people. Like that's more of who I am than the numbers that you like see, the analytics. And I get like a lot of comments saying like, hey, like you're cool, or like, hey, you like really suck. But I've worked on this like every single day to not let the peaks and the valleys like change like everything like of who I am, like change my identity, because you need to know me, and you who are watching this need to genuinely know like who you are. You need to know your voice. You need to be like so rooted in that construction of or this foundation, I mean, of like who you are, because like if you don't, like my goodness, your ego will inflate and take you off into the sky, and you'll fall like really far down, or you'll just like bury yourself into the ground and think that you're just not worth anything. And that's either of those are just like unhealthy and bad and just not good for anybody. So for me, like I know that, yeah, like I'm a regular guy, like I'm a Christian as well, and like I know that like God loves me for who I am, and that like there's a specific reason like why I'm here. Joe Greer, in his own body of work, like he is confident in his own creative direction and he's learning, and all of us are like learning from like people that we learn, people that we watch on the internet, music that we listen to, mistakes that we make, and some also successful decisions that we made. Like we're all like a composite of that, right? So we have no right to think that we are the greatest of all time, because what the heck, like you're influenced by so many other people. Like why do you think that you're so much higher and separate from other people? You thinking that you're so great, you're going to fall behind way faster than you think, because you're refusing to learn from like other people. Yeah, I feel like I'm talking in a circle now. But a couple other people that I want to talk about that kind of exhibit in their own complex, unique way about this like ego artist thing is Dave Chappelle, who I've already like kind of sort of talked about, and Kanye. Kanye West is a really like complex character about this whole thing too. But speaking of like Dave, again, I'm not a professional psychologist. I'm not a professional at Dave Chappelle or comedy. I'm not a professional on like hip hop, rap, and music with like Kanye. I don't even know that much about these people, but like from like what I've like consumed, Dave is an outstanding comedian. Outstanding. He's so funny, but he's also like kind of a legend because with the current climate of like cancel culture and like what you can or can't say on TV or on the internet, and what kind of like bothers people, and then all this other stuff, like a lot of comedians and a lot of artists have to like watch out for what they say. And yes, we should definitely be accountable for what we say. We shouldn't be like super loosey goosey about our words. Like it hurts people. Words hurt people. But with Dave, he knows that comedians are under like a lot of scrutiny for poking fun at certain groups of people, and certain groups of people really don't like Dave Chappelle. And with other comedians, they're like, okay, I'm not going to make jokes about that anymore. I'm not going to like say that because I don't want to get canceled. But Dave has refused time and time again to bend over way too much towards like this whole cancel culture, like PC outrage culture. And I think this shows like a lot of like healthy balance of his own ego, right? He is so confident that like this is the way that things should be done. This is the way that he's going to do it, really. And he's found so much success in that. And he's also inspiring people to do the same, right? He's not preaching that like what he's doing is the only way that it should be done, but he's just like mad confident. And so he also leans into the like, yo, like he's the best. Like he believes he's the best. And I don't know if he is the best. Maybe like right now he's the best, but I really like his stuff. Like absolutely like love the way he tells stories, the way he actually pauses in between jokes too. Like his whole craft I like super admire, but his courage to remain steadfast in his character is so what I'm trying to teach right now. Like what I'm trying to like share and talk about right now. Like the amount of criticism he faces is enormous, and he also like went on the record to say that like some of the things that like people say about him is like hurtful, and that people have made a lot of like uneducated comments towards him, like that he's a racist and that he's other stuff. But it's just like that's not who Dave is, and Dave knows that that's not him, and he's going to stick to it. He even won like an Emmy or some award for his, I think his Sticks and Stones stand-up special for Netflix, which there was a lot of people that didn't like it, and he showed that, and he just like said like in his acceptance speech that like people, the reporters who were like trying to slam him should just quit their job forever, because he's proving that like, dude, like this is what comedy is. Like what he's doing is not like preaching like 100% truths. He's just poking fun at so many people. And yes, there are some truths in the jokes. That's what makes them funny. But people have to realize that like jokes aren't 100% truths. Like they're inflated, they're deflated for the sake of making people laugh and enjoying it. So there's that. Comment down below what you think about that. And then the second character that I want to talk about is Kanye West. Woo! This guy is like an enigma, a mystery, but like I used to like really only like his Graduation album and other tracks, but I used to not like post 808 and Heartbreaks Kanye. But with these like random like videos of recommended on my YouTube, like the making of My Twisted Dark Fantasy, The Life of Pablo, Yeezus, all this other stuff. Like I love this like breakdown that other people have made about his music, and like the creative choices that he's made, the construction and decisions and collaborations that he thought was right for the album, for his career, for what he truly wants to make, because that's what his soul and his being is like driving him to do, has made me appreciate him as a person, him as an artist, and also like his body of work as well. And you can disagree as much as you want on it. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but what he's shown through his like high confidence in himself, like definitely like in the self-indulgence zone, like in many cases, but his high confidence in like how he's going to create music that will like influence the flow of like generational hip hop or generational like music is so profound and like so cool, because it's so against the grain for what a lot of people like thought when each album dropped. It's always like controversial this or controversial that. And yes, some of the stuff that he did, like I kind of don't agree with, but learning about him more and how he's like been able to like kind of withstand a lot of like mad criticism about his character, and he's admitted that he's made a lot of mistakes and all this other stuff. Him and as an artist though, he has such a strong belief in how he's going to do things, what kind of music he's going to make, what kind of business decisions he's also going to decide on in this year and next year, and thinking of like, I don't know, way down the future. Like I think like he's a genius for sure, like in his own manner. I think a lot of us are geniuses in our own manner, and we have to sometimes have like ultra confidence in ourselves that like, hey, what I'm doing is gonna be dope. It is gonna like help a lot of people or stuff like that. Yeah, but that's enough about Kanye, because again, like I'm no expert on him. I just want to like wrap up my thoughts, because I think I'm like in the 30-minute zone now of talking. But for me on this topic, like I'm definitely like a composite of like my experiences growing up as a kid, how hard it was growing up as a kid, the people I've met in very crucial, pivotal moments of my life, how sports like plays a huge role in my life, how God like also like is literally like my North Star, like in all of this, and all these like other decisions that like I'm making. Like I'm a composite of like a lot of things, and I'm a huge fan of myself too. I'm a huge fan of how like, I know, like I'm just like pushing like through and like figuring things out like along the way. And I think that a lot of people should be like a fan of themselves, should really appreciate like who you've become and who you can become type thing. The whole like idea of saying that like you can't be proud of what you're doing, in Asian culture, that's like a huge, not like unspoken thing, that like being proud of something is kind of like a cardinal sin, because like, oh, you're very cocky. But dude, like you can, or girl, gal, you can be proud of the things that you make. And maybe you don't resonate with that because you're not Asian or whatever, but, or you didn't grow up like that. But the people that we hang around with, the mistakes that we're going to make, and the successes that we're going to enjoy, are all going to make up this art that we're going to create in the future, by the way that we speak, by the way that we visualize things, and make sonics and songs and lyrics and whatever. Like, they're going to help so many people. So believe in that, in how you're going to do it. But you also have to find balance in not thinking that you're the greatest of all time, and not thinking that you're trash, and finding that perfect pocket, that perfect rhythm for you personally in how you're going to create. It's a journey. We're never going to stop learning until like we're taking off this earth, until like we die. So if you have these moments of like thinking that you're the ultimate artist of the world, shut up. Just shut up. Like you're not, okay? Like just learn more, dude or girl. Learn more, okay? And we're not that big. Our art can most of the times be bigger than us. So just know that like those will live on longer than we will, you know, especially if you put it on the internet, it'll just be permanent. But know that you could be a talented human being, but you're also a human being. So don't think that you're like more special than someone else, or don't think that you're like so god awful trash or whatever. I said that so many times. Be open to learning and analyzing. And I don't know how this podcast type thing just turned out, because I'm like looking at my notes. I'm like, I just missed like half of like my notes, but that's like all I guess I have to say about like the ego and the artist. If you really watch towards the end and you listen the entire time, yo, appreciate you. Like, honestly, I'm going to like play this back right now. I'm just going to slap on this clip on top of my timeline and call it a day and upload it. But yo, you're a real one. If you're like still here, I really appreciate you. Hopefully I can still do these kind of things, be more concise or be more refined in the future. Let me know in the comments section below, like how I did. Like, seriously, I would love to have some feedback. I'm open to this kind of feedback. So let's get out there. Let's start creating some things and be open to learning, and also being confident in the way that we do things, even though it's very different from somebody else or what other people may think. All right. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.